How do you
Did
know
you
what,
or
how,
did you?
how do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a
So let
simple
me move on.
question. If you have
Mr.
a
Patel,
transcript, you
during
can
your
read the question,
nomination
but you don't have it.
hearing, you promised that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked you, are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with the Trump administration, you explicitly said under oath that you were not aware of any plans to punish FBI agents associated with criminal investigations of Donald Trump. I don't believe you were truthful. Firing FBI employees based solely on the cases that they are investigating, their case assignments, is illegal, and you know that. A new lawsuit that's been discussed numerous times, filed by 3 FBI officials, alleges that you carried out Donald Trump's campaign of retribution, in quotes, against FBI employees for, quote, failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. One of those plaintiffs has been discussed today, Brian Driscoll. Now, we know 20 years of distinguished service to the FBI before you terminated him. Special agent in charge of FBI's Newark field office, where he operated with distinction. Medal of Valor winner, Shield of Bravery awards. He's a patriot. You terminated Driscoll via a letter dated October 8th, 2025. And in that letter, you said that you were firing him pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution. Well, you're not the President of the United States. And so I'm wondering under what authority you were allowed to terminate him.
That matter is under litigation, and I'm not able to discuss it.
Okay, well, discuss this. Did you have discussions with Stephen Miller about firing this particular person or about his continuance in the FBI?
Not that I recall.
How often do you speak to Stephen Miller?
Frequently on our Homeland Security task forces.
You frequently talk with Stephen Miller about
20%. That's the figure hanging over this hearing. FBI agents reportedly diverted to immigration enforcement while critical law enforcement work is being reassigned. And then Senator Cory Booker pressed FBI Director Kash Patel on what he knew before taking the job about removing FBI personnel. Patel's answers kept colliding with Booker's questions. Booker pushed him on prior testimony, the Mar-a-Lago documents, the firing of longtime FBI officials, and whether political loyalty was influencing who stayed inside the bureau. Then Patel fired back with a completely different picture, pointing to arrests, weapons seizures, child predators, human trafficking cases, counterintelligence arrests, and other FBI operations. So who actually answered the questions? And why did this hearing turn into such a heated confrontation? Watch what happened when Booker and Patel went head-to-head. Please subscribe our channel for further exclusive content. LET's Play THE clip.
Mr. Patel, I want to start off where we left off last time. I asked you whether you had any knowledge or discussions about removing FBI officials and installing political personnel before you were confirmed to that position. And I wonder, did you then understand or have conversations with the White House about the intentions to do so?
Before I was confirmed?
Yes, sir.
Did I have discussions with the White House to remove FBI personnel?
Yes.
No.
So you're saying that you had no discussions with the White House before you were in the position about the removal of any personnel from the agency?
As I was preparing for my confirmation hearing, I had numerous discussions involving the type of people that would be employed, and that those that were failing to meet the mark at the FBI would no longer be employed if I were confirmed.
And I'm assuming that mark had to do with loyalty to the Trump administration.
No, you're wrong.
Okay. I'd like to revisit another subject from that hearing. Did you testify, you did testify before the grand jury that President Trump had declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Is that correct?
I don't have the grand jury transcript. That's why I released it. Whatever it says is the best evidence.
That's what you said to Senator Whitehouse, that your grand jury testimony was publicly released. It has not been. In fact, in July, a court denied a news outlet's bid to get that transcript. But the court said quite clearly that you are free to discuss your grand jury testimony. So I ask you again, did you testify before the grand jury that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified document case?
And that is why I took your invitation to work with the department and the court to have that transcript released. And the transcript is the best evidence of what I said then.
So you're saying right now this committee can have access to what you said before the grand jury?
To whatever was released. Under my understanding, Senator, that the Department of Justice
You and I both understand the law. Let me finish. I understand under Rule 6 of the Federal Rules of Procedure, a grand jury witness, in this case you, is not barred from sharing their grand jury testimony. This is an oversight hearing. This is germane to your integrity and credibility. You know right now whether or not you testified that President Trump declassified the documents at issue in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Why are you refusing to answer that simple yes or no question right now?
Because the premise of your question is inaccurate, and
there is no premise to my question, but trying to get to an order of what is truth or not.
How do you How do you know what was asked in the grand jury if you weren't there?
Mr. Patel, this is a mockery you're making of this hearing and simple questions.
It's a simple question. If you have
Mr.
a transcript,
during
you can
your
read
nomination,
the question, but you don't have it.
You promised that, quote, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. When I asked you, are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with the Trump administration, you explicitly said under oath that you were not aware of any plans to punish FBI agents associated with criminal investigations of Donald Trump. I don't believe you were truthful. Firing FBI employees based solely on the cases that they are investigating, their case assignments, is illegal, and you know that. A new lawsuit that's been discussed numerous times, filed by 3 FBI officials, alleges that you carried out Donald Trump's campaign of retribution, in quotes, against FBI employees for, quote, failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. One of those plaintiffs has been discussed today, Brian Driscoll. Now, we know 20 years of distinguished service to the FBI before you terminated him. Special agent in charge of FBI's Newark field office, where he operated with distinction. Medal of Valor winner, Shield of Bravery awards. He's a patriot. You terminated Driscoll via a letter dated October 8th, 2025. And in that letter, you said that you were firing him pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution. Well, you're not the President of the United States. And so I'm wondering under what authority you were allowed to terminate him.
That matter is under litigation, and I'm not able to discuss it.
Okay, well, discuss this. Did you have discussions with Stephen Miller about firing this particular person or about his continuance in the FBI?
Not that I recall.
How often do you speak to Stephen Miller?
Frequently on our Homeland Security task forces.
You frequently talk with Stephen Miller about subjects other than Homeland Security task force issues, correct?
I frequently talk to Mr. Miller about Homeland Security task forces.
Has Stephen Miller ever given you his opinions on how to run your agency?
Mr. Miller's interagency operations are invaluable to success of the FBI. That's what we talk about.
So you frequently discuss your job and your responsibilities with Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi, I imagine, as well.
Absolutely. She's the Attorney General.
Understood. Okay. Donald Trump promised to make us all safer. You have pushed out senior FBI agents with decades of knowledge and experience. In fact, this is the first time in FBI history that neither the director nor the deputy director have any experience with the FBI. You've shifted the agency's priorities primarily to pursuing Donald Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. According to ICE data, the Cato Institute, which is a conservative think tank, found that 20% of all agents have been diverted from their work to assist ICE immigration enforcement. 20%. Part of this operation is the work of mass law enforcement who jump out of cars, snatch people off streets at churches, schools, and their jobs and hospitals. Have there been any FBI agents who investigate crimes against children that have been assigned to immigration enforcement, yes or no?
The premise of what you say is entirely
Have there been
false.
any FBI agents
No,
who investigate
no.
foreign domestic terrorism?
You don't get to say America is not safer under this leadership.
I am not saying
America
that.
is
You're
safer because of the work of the
presumption-
FBI.
You're making a presumption of premise.
4,700 children.
Sir,
we have seized 6,000 weapons and
you are not
23,000 violent
denying
felons have
that
been
FBI
arrested.
agents who investigate human trafficking have been reassigned to immigration enforcement. You are not denying that FBI agents who are on the task force that fight against Russian oligarchs have not been reassigned. Public Correction Squad reassigned. People who defend us, defend children reassigned. You're not denying that. I've seen you time and time again attack my colleagues' premises of questions as a way to not answer the question. So let me end with this. I believe you have made our country weaker and less safe. I believe that we are more vulnerable to a major event, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. You've gutted the Bureau of Institutional Knowledge and Expertise. You fired or pushed out seasoned FBI officials, many with more than 20 years of experience, and were working on cases that were critical. You've been purging thousands of serious law enforcement officials who spent their careers keeping us safe, only to lower hiring standards in order to find anyone to replace them. And shockingly, you admitted in this hearing to Senator Coons that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at your agency. Many are the result of your purge. 20% of FBI agents are doing low-level immigration enforcement instead of their mission-critical work. You've disbanded entire task forces that stop election interference, foreign influence, public corruption. And who benefits from this? Well, corrupt people benefit from it. Criminals benefit from it. Vladimir Putin benefits from it. And it really makes me wonder who you're looking out for. It makes me think we can't trust you as a nation. You swear to release the Epstein files, but now you're withholding the Epstein files. You claim that you have a suspect in a serious assassination. Whoops, then you don't have a suspect. You know nothing about plans to remove FBI agents, yet you're directly involved in those plans. In the words of an ex-FBI official, you are overseeing, and I quote, generational destruction of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. Mr. Patel, in just 8 months, you have assaulted the institutional integrity of the FBI. But I know FBI field agents. I've worked with them in Newark. No matter how truly bad you are, you can't undermine the legacy of agents who fight every day to keep us safe, but you can tarnish the integrity of the agency and undermine the agency's capacity. I believe you're failing as a leader, and that your failure does have serious implications for the safety and security of Americans and our families. We're more vulnerable to domestic and foreign attack because of your failures of leadership. I don't think you're fit to hand the Bureau, but here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long for your job. But I'm going to tell you this. I pray for you. I pray for you that you can step up and defend your oath, defend the Constitution, and do a much better job of defending this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to say anything?
Yes,
at this
sir.
point?
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to address
There should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You
Senator
are an
Booker, you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this
to
country.
not take
Senator,
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what
you
my
tell-
time is.
Senator-
You can't lecture me.
You can tell me
Sir,
my time's over?
You may be the charge of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Booker, I announced at the beginning of this meeting that this back and forth talking over each other doesn't work. And I said if that happened, I asked Patel not to respond, and I was going to give him some time after the senator's time was up to respond. And he has the privilege to do that uninterrupted.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
go,
one point of
go
order.
ahead, Mr.
I've
Patel.
watched him talk over us, and you've never once criticized him for us not even being able to
If-
get our questions out.
Well,
He has been rude and disrespectful to senator after senator.
And when the senators were not giving him a chance to answer, I didn't stop the senator either. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the FBI, under my 7-month leadership, were failing this administration in this country, why do we have 23,000 violent felons arrested this year alone? A 200, a double increase from that time last year. Why is it that we have seized 6,000 weapons? Why have we found 1,500 child predators and arrested them? Why have we have 300 human traffickers in jail? Why have we found and identified 4,700 children? Why have we seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl in enough to kill a third of the American public, a 25% increase alone from last year? 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, 7,000 kilograms of meth seized, and that's just on our criminal operations in summer heat. How is it possible that we are taking 8 kilograms off the streets of the cities in New Jersey and preventing the deaths of 607,000 people this year alone, a failure of the FBI and my leadership? How is it that we have counterintelligence arrests already this year exceeding the numbers from the entirety of last year? 33% increase in PRC, 83% in Russia, 60% in the CI space as it relates to Iran, and we haven't even talked about CT, the southern border, the northern border.
Let's go back through that hearing, because the confrontation between Senator Cory Booker and FBI Director Kash Patel was about much more than one disagreement. Booker opened by taking Patel back to his confirmation process. The question was straightforward. Before Patel was confirmed as FBI Director, did he have discussions with the White House about removing FBI personnel? Patel said he did not have discussions with the White House specifically about removing personnel, but he acknowledged that, while preparing for his confirmation hearing, he had discussions about the kinds of people who would be employed at the FBI and about people who were failing to meet the standard no longer being employed if he became director. That's where Booker pushed. He wanted to know whether those conversations were connected to political loyalty to the Trump administration. Patel rejected the premise. Booker was trying to establish whether personnel decisions inside the FBI were being shaped by political considerations. Then Booker moved to Patel's previous testimony about the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Booker asked about testimony Patel had given before a grand jury concerning whether Donald Trump had declassified the documents involved in that case. Patel said he did not have the grand jury transcript and that the transcript would be the best evidence of what he actually said. Booker challenged that explanation, pointing out that the grand jury testimony had not actually been publicly released, despite Patel referring to its release. Booker also pointed to a July court decision concerning an attempt by a news outlet to obtain the transcript. Then Booker pressed him again. Did Patel testify before the grand jury that Trump had declassified the documents? Instead of giving the yes or no answer Booker wanted, Patel returned to the transcript and legal process surrounding its release. And that became a major pattern of the hearing. Booker kept asking for direct answers. Patel kept challenging the premise or pointing toward the transcript and legal context. Then Booker moved to FBI personnel. He reminded Patel that during his nomination, Patel had promised FBI employees would be protected against political retribution. Booker then brought up Brian Driscoll. According to the clip, Driscoll had 20 years of distinguished FBI service and had served as special agent in charge of the Newark field office. Booker said Driscoll was terminated through a letter dated October 8, 2025, and that the letter cited Article 2 of the Constitution. Then Booker raised the question, if Kash Patel is not the President of the United States, under what authority was that termination carried out? Patel responded that the matter was under litigation and he could not discuss it. Booker then moved to Stephen Mill. He asked Patel whether he had discussed Driscoll's firing with Miller. Patel said not that he recalled. Booker asked how often Patel speaks with Miller. Patel said frequently, concerning Homeland Security task forces. Booker then asked whether Miller had given Patel opinions about how to run the FBI. Patel again focused on Miller's interagency work. Booker also brought up Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Patel acknowledged communicating with her as part of his responsibilities. Booker was trying to establish whether influential figures around the Trump administration were involved in discussions about how the FBI should be run and who should remain inside it. Then came Booker's broader indictment. His argument was that the FBI had been weakened by pushing out experienced personnel while shifting agents toward immigration enforcement. The clip cites 20% of FBI agents being diverted to immigration enforcement, attributing that figure to ICE data and an analysis by the Cato Institute. Booker argued that agents who should be working on major criminal investigations were being pulled into another enforcement mission. He specifically asked whether FBI agents who investigate crimes against children had been assigned to immigration enforcement. Patel rejected what he called the premise. But Booker continued pressing on reassignment of agents working on human trafficking and other specialized investigations. And this was the larger argument Booker was building. If experienced FBI personnel are moved away from specialized investigations, what happens to those cases? What happens to institutional knowledge? What happens when people with years of experience are pushed out and replacements have to learn the agency from scratch? Then Booker said Patel had made the country weaker and less safe. He argued that the Bureau had lost institutional knowledge and expertise, that experienced officials had been fired or pushed out, and that hiring standards had been lowered to replace them. Then he pointed to another figure, 14 years. According to Booker's remarks, Patel had admitted that it would take 14 years to fill the vacancies at the agency. Booker also pointed to reassignment of agents and the disbanding of task forces involving election interference, foreign influence, and public corruption. Then he asked the political question, who benefits? Booker suggested that corrupt people benefit, criminals benefit, and Vladimir Putin benefits. His argument was that changing the FBI's priorities could mean certain threats receive less attention. Then Booker went after Patel's credibility more broadly. He referenced Patel's statements about releasing the Epstein files and the issue of an alleged suspect in a serious assassination investigation. Booker argued that Patel's statements had created contradictions that made it difficult for the public to trust him. The message was clear. Booker was no longer simply saying he disagreed with Patel's management decisions. He was saying he did not trust Patel's leadership of the FBI. Then Booker delivered his harshest political prediction. He said he did not believe Patel was fit to lead the Bureau and suggested this might be Patel's last oversight hearing because he did not expect Patel to remain in the position much longer. He also argued that Patel was too willing to follow Donald Trump rather than defend the Constitution. But then Patel responded. He accused Booker of presenting false information and argued that the rhetoric was not bringing the country together. Booker immediately pushed back. The two began talking over each other. The chairman stepped in and reminded everyone that members should not talk over each other. He said Patel would be given time to respond after the senator finished. But Booker objected, arguing that Patel had repeatedly talked over senators and had been rude and disrespectful. Suddenly, the hearing was no longer just about FBI policy. It had become a battle over who controlled the room. And then Patel finally got his opportunity to respond without being interrupted. His response was the biggest counterattack of the entire clip. Instead of accepting Booker's description of a failing FBI, Patel pointed directly to enforcement results. He cited 23,000 violent felons arrested during the year. He cited 6,000 weapons seized. He cited 1,500 child predators arrested. He cited 300 human traffickers put in jail. He cited 4,700 children found and identified. Then he moved to fentanyl. The clip says Patel cited 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl seized, describing it as a 25% increase from the previous year. He also cited 88,000 kilograms of cocaine seized and 7,000 kilograms of methamphetamine seized. And Patel's argument was clear. If the FBI is failing under his leadership, how do you explain these results? That became Patel's strongest defense in the exchange. Booker focused on institutional integrity, personnel decisions, priorities, leadership, and the direction of the Bureau. Patel responded with enforcement results. Booker was asking what was happening to the institution. Patel was pointing to what the institution was accomplishing. Then Patel kept going. He cited counterintelligence arrests already exceeding the numbers from the entirety of the previous year. He cited increases involving the PRC, Russia, and Iran in the counterintelligence space. And he said the discussion had not even reached counterterrorism operations or the southern and northern borders. So now we have two competing pictures. Booker says Patel is overseeing a dangerous transformation of the FBI. Patel says the results prove the Bureau is actively protecting Americans. And that is what made this hearing so intense. Each side was answering a different question. Booker wanted accountability for how the FBI was being run. Patel wanted recognition for what the FBI was accomplishing. Booker kept returning to personnel. Patel kept returning to results. Booker kept demanding direct answers. Patel kept challenging the assumptions behind the questions. Booker saw that as evasion. Patel saw the questions as based on false premises. And by the end, the disagreement had become a direct battle over credibility. Who should Americans believe? The senator accusing the FBI director of weakening the institution? Or the FBI director pointing to arrests, seizures, investigations, and counterintelligence operations? That is the central question this hearing leaves behind. Booker believes the danger is what is happening inside the Bureau, the personnel changes, reassignment of agents, loss of institutional knowledge, and what he sees as political influence. Patel believes the proof is in the operational results. And that is why this hearing is bigger than one shouting match. Underneath all the interruptions and political heat is a much bigger fight over what the FBI is supposed to be: an institution protected from political retaliation, or an aggressively redeployed law enforcement agency focused on the priorities of the administration in power. Booker says the transformation is making America more vulnerable. Patel says the numbers demonstrate the opposite, that disagreement is nowhere near settled. But one thing is clear: this was not a quiet oversight hearing. It was a full-scale confrontation over the leadership, direction, and credibility of the FBI. The questions were direct. The answers were contested. And the political stakes could hardly have been higher. There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments.